Baby boomers, do you have a desire for personal growth, self improvement, and a way to renew your purpose? If any of that speaks to you, well, in today's show, I'm going to be sharing some psychological reinvention tips as you move through your 60s and beyond. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. And if you're one of my regulars, great to have you back here. So, this whole idea of psychological reinvention. Well, that's the topic for today's show. And the reason being is because as baby boomers, we have lived at least 6 decades and beyond. And over the last 60 years, obviously, there's been so much change in our lives, particularly through our adult lives. And what I want you to think about is during your particular, let's say, the last 40 years or so, as you've matured into an adult, have you approached life from the point of view of being very staid and fixed? Has that been your approach basically over your adult life? And so therefore you've shown up for life, you've just gone through the motions of life, and then you've arrived at 60 and you're thirsting for something new? Or have you really gone with the peaks and the troughs of life, which have kind of forced you into change, and then you may have receded back into your normal way of being? Or are you somebody who's really fluid in terms of, well, life presents what life presents, and as a result of that, you flow with the changes? Psychological reinvention requires you to show up for that, because as you move into and through your third act of life, which is the last season of our lives as baby boomers, it's about, well, how can you refresh your life in a way that's going to be so meaningful to you? So, what is psychological reinvention? Well, it's a transformational process that allows you to redefine your sense of self and your sense of purpose. So you're giving yourself this opportunity because you've come up for air at 60 years old, or as you're approaching, or a bit beyond. And you're looking for this sense of renewal that ultimately, you're the only person that can give it to yourself. And there's a psychologist called Dr. Carol Weck. And her view is the sooner that we can embrace change means that it opens us up to new possibilities, and new possibilities equal growth. So, an example from my own life is during the 2000s, when I was actually in my 40s and was one of those fallow seasons in life. And I had just finished a major exhibition around older people. So it was the first kind of iteration of the smart years and aging and positive aging. And I hit this point and it was like, there was a call for me to grow into the next level of who I could become. And I didn't have a clear vision or view about it. And then an opportunity presented itself a few months later. And it was this opportunity to be awarded an international leadership award where I could go to any country in the world to undertake with people. And I thought, here it is. This is one of my paths to reinvention. But underlying the reinvention, it was a sense of, well, who do I need to become in order to grow into this international leader? And that's what kickstarted my whole process. And so, who did I need to become? Was somebody who could see myself as this international leader, could see myself undertaking this research, even though I'd never been to China before. I'd only just learned to speak Mandarin, basically. Not completely fluent, and certainly not fluent enough for me to undertake my research. But nonetheless, the next iteration, my own reinvention, called for me to see myself as this international leader that has a level of competence and can undertake this particular, new season, new venture in my life. And so, what could you do? So, tip number one is start writing about journaling, note taking, doesn't really matter, but it's the moments of personal reflection. Start writing about your thoughts and your feelings about who you are and who you are in the world, because this will give you an insight into where your current mindset is. And mindset is so key in terms of how you are going to move forward, because it doesn't matter what the external world looks like. If you internally don't see yourself as this next iteration, then it's going to be very difficult. But you need to assess where you are. And that's the second area: self reflection and assessment. In terms of assessing who you are, what you're aiming to do here is to evaluate. How are you going to evaluate yourself? Brené Brown talks about this in terms of self-reflection is the key to growth. So as you've been journaling, writing, having a sense of your mindset, the evaluation is my current mindset allowing me to perceive myself as this new being, this new entity, this new vision I have for myself? Or I might have the idea to do something, but I'm resisting doing it. And so here, really and truthfully assess who you are, assess what it is that your life needs. And one of the ways in which you can have a sense of your mindset and a sense of your thoughts is, let's say, meditation. That's the second tip. Meditate, ruminate on what is valuable about me? What could I extract? What could be my new growth path? Now, you don't have to see the whole path ahead of you, or they say, the whole staircase. You just need to see the first step ahead. Now, if you struggle to do this independently, one of the fantastic things that you can do, and it's something that I've done throughout different periods of my life, is to actually ask the people who are close to you, who you trust and who you respect, ask them for feedback. Now, it takes courage, some may say, or bravery to actually open yourself up in a way where you're asking for feedback from people who you actually trust their opinion. But you've got to create the environment where they feel comfortable enough to express to you, and whatever it is that they express, you being open and receptive to what they're saying. Now, this isn't the situation they say something and then you rebut, but it's this and it's that, and you've always got an answer. Because if you've always got an answer, it's showing that you're still closed. Your mindset isn't ready for growth. Now, these people can share things with you that may hurt your ego, but what I'm inviting you to do, as this baby boomer who's looking to flourish, excuse me, is to park your ego and actually invite the conversation whereby your friends or your trusted people around you, family members, can show you what your strengths are. And they can equally show you, they open up a window so that you can see through to where you have some work to do. Now, you will have your own view of this in terms of who you're becoming and who you need to be, but you need some help with that. But don't offer it back to them when you gathered their feedback, not at the time. What you're aiming to do here is to take the feedback, reflect on the feedback, and then integrate that as you are assessing who you are and who you potentially could become. So that's the second tip. The third tip is really around looking at setting goals and having a vision for your life. Now, psychological reinvention, as I said, it's this redefining of who you are and the purpose that you have. And it's about setting goals. Now, having got to the age of 60 and beyond, it may be something you're very familiar with. But now you're turning the lens inwards and thinking about the visions and the goals that you have for your life or you've had for your life. Are you still nursing a dream, an idea or something, this vision for your life was set some time ago? And I'm talking maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or later. Ask yourself, is this dream still relevant to you as you now are into your 60s and beyond, the third and final act of your life? Is it a dream that you've outgrown? Is it time for a new one? So this is really great to think about. Well, what do I need to do? Who do I need to become? What do I need to think about? What is this overarching dream? that you could create for your life. Now, one of the ways and things that can help you is by having a vision book. And I'm just going to reach for my vision book. So, this is my vision book. Here it is, packed with visions for my life. And it's fantastic. This is my own personal imagery of how I see my life unfolding as I've moved through my adult life, particularly from late 40s onwards. I'm 60 now. And one of the fantastic things that I was able to document, and I'm so glad it came to me in terms of a vision, was in 2012. It was a turning point for me because one of my best friends died. And we had the Olympic Games, which was fantastic. And given I'm so sporty, but I was also at a crossroads as to where could I take my life. And it was a fallow season for me. And what I did was I thought, well, yes, it's a low point for me, but I do have knowledge, I do have insights, I do have skills. And that's when I wrote my book. But before writing the book, I had a real profound dream and woke up in October 2012. And in this vision book, I cut out a picture. I'm not going to show it to you, but I cut out a picture of myself. And the images that came to me in my dream, I started writing it around my photograph as I'm looking at it now. So I wrote around the photograph, and it was such a sharp, vivid, clear dream as to the next path for me. And so over the last 12 years, there were 13 things that I saw in that dream, and I documented them. And in the last 12 years, I have realized and manifested 10 of them. There's one that came in the must have been about 2016 that I didn't see in 2012, and that was to become a software engineer. And I completed that whole journey in March, on March the 19th, 2020, which is just 2 days away from here. It would be my 4-year anniversary. But having this powerful vision and then living your life crossing off because you've grown into what the vision has asked of you. You've set goals, you've got a clear idea in terms of where you're heading, and you're opening yourself up so that you can receive insights, wisdom, guidance, signs from the universe as to how you're going to move forward. So this tip number 3, is very much about creating a vision board map of how you see this vision unfolding. Give that gift to your life. It's a wonderful thing. So the fourth tip is around a growth mindset. And by embracing a growth mindset, it opens you up for new opportunities and new experiences. If you've lived to 60 years old and there's just been a sort of static way in which you've moved forward with your life, then a growth mindset is going to provoke you into searching out new opportunities, new experiences. And again, as Dr. Carol Dweck, what she says is that how you see yourself on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment, season-to-season basis is going to have a profound impact in terms of how you lead your life. Now, as you've crossed or you're crossing the threshold into 60 this year, what is the vision that you have? But also, how can you begin to shift this new or create this new mindset? So, tip number 4, a way into having a new growth mindset is taking on new hobbies and activities that take you outside of your comfort zone. What is the thing that has been nudging you? You've felt this internal nudge that is kind of calling you and saying, try that, but you've been resisting it in some way, shape, or form. You don't feel as if you're ready for it, you're right for it. But there's a part of you that's yearning for this next level of growth. That's what you need to tap into. That's what you need to dive into. Another aspect of this fourth tip is about affirmations. Self talk. What's your self talk like? Are you somebody that you can be your own cheerleader? You've always done it. You can do it for yourself as well as for other people. Or are you somebody that's so good at cheering other people on, but you've got this negative talk going on in your head? You've got the critic going on. The critic is sitting on your shoulder and it's not allowing you to flourish. Well, the fourth tip is about taking on new activities and exploring hobbies and shifting your mindset so that you are engaging with an internal conversation that's very positive. The fifth tip is about building resilience and coping mechanisms. Having got to 60 years old and beyond, obviously life has thrown what life has thrown at us. And why should any of us escape what life has to show us, teach us, so that we can grow from it? And with that, there's a lot of stresses that come along. And what we can do is we can capitulate to it, and we might have adopted, consciously or otherwise, this learned behavior of helplessness, giving up, quitting. Well, I've tried this before and that didn't work, and I've tried this before and that didn't work. I may as well give up. I'm now 60 and beyond, and who's going to pay any attention to me, or that type of talk. One of the ways away from this and around this and through this is to develop a self-care practice. How do you begin to care for yourself in a way that's meaningful? What do you do to soothe that sense of feeling overwhelmed, that sense of coping with the stresses that life throws at all of us? What do you do? What can you do? Is it physical touch? Are you into massages? Are you into being part of nature? Are you into using your own hands to build things? Are you into reflection? Are you into reading? Are you into exercise? Are you into movement? What is it that you can do that builds in this daily self-care practice? One of the things that I do daily is some form of exercise, have done for decades, whether I'm at the gym or whether I'm walking. I've always walked because I don't drive. So getting from A to B, my size 7 feet are, my pedals and my wheels, and I'm off into the world. And I find like self-care for me incorporates exercise and movement. When I used to do distance running, it was a fantastic way of, because you're spending so many hours by yourself running a lot of miles to complete marathons. And it's a wonderful way that I could give back myself time. I could think, I could be, I could breathe. That's one of the ways that I do it. And if I go to the gym, that's another way. And then there are social things that I do with other people. What are the things that you can do to develop self-care? Another thing I used to do and don't do anymore, when I was a practicing Buddhist, we had these prayers that we would do on twice a daily basis, where we would chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, as well as have a long form of chanting, which was called a tozo, where you would be sitting there for 7 hours chanting, and it's a way to kind of clear your thoughts and get clarity over who you are. And it was a way towards self-mastery, which is a lifelong thing. So it doesn't matter what it is. But when I think about that practice of the tozos, it was a wonderful way that eased me through life's challenges. What's your way? That's just one of many that I've suggested, but you will have your own. So that's the fifth tip. Self-care. And the sixth and final one is really about thinking of your support network, be that your friends, be that your network, be that your community, however you are defining it. Identify your support network. As we're aging, a lot of our friends, we're in the season where people begin to pass away, or you've lost contact with your friends, or you've fallen out with friends, and you're feeling this sense of isolation and possible loneliness. All of us went through the pandemic, and that was a wake-up call hopefully for all of us for different reasons. But what does community mean to you? What does a supportive environment and friendship group look like to you? One of the things that you could do is just to identify maybe 3 to 5 people and then think about what and who do you have meaningful conversations with? They're so potent, they're so powerful. Are you the sort of person that is welcoming the deepening of relationships so that you can have more exchanges that are meaningful, that have a sense of profundity to them? You're making sense of your life. You want to be in a community where you can share yourself. You're not pretending, there's no facade, there's no mask. You are being, you are operating in the world, but you're allowing yourself to be seen by others and then for you to see other people. So, what does a network mean to you? What does a friendship group mean to you? How do you begin to cultivate new friendships? So, 2 years ago, I was on a webinar, and on this webinar, I was talking about positive aging, which was right up my street. And the person who had written this book was talking about, networks and what have you. And then somebody said, I really want to meet people like this. And I thought the radar was up for me because I thought this is exactly what I'm into. Anyway, while we were on the webinar, I reached out to her and she responded. And then we took the conversation beyond the webinar, obviously. And over the last 2 years, we've built up a fantastic friendship. She lives in America. I'm here. Hi, Karen, if you're watching this at some point. But and over that time, and what was really clear from the beginning is that we both wanted to build intentional platonic friendships. So I ask you the question, who is in your trusted support group where you can actually have meaningful conversations that moves way beyond the superficiality, where you can be intentional about who you are? And if you are in online groups or even offline groups, how do you show up in those groups? Are you somebody where you're open-hearted and you can connect with people and start building up exchanges that leads to acquaintanceship and then to friendship? Or are you somebody that tends to hover on the periphery and just hoping that people will notice you? As we are boomers in our last season, the third act of our lives, ask yourself, how long are you going to continue to remain on the periphery? You want this sense of community. You're feeling isolated. So here it's about breaking through some of your own barriers that allows you to see other people and to be seen by other people. How do you show up to support your friends in ways that are meaningful to them? Because invariably what can happen is that when we give to people the thing we give to people, the thing we may want from people, but that's not really serving that person. So therefore, how can you begin to pivot in a way whereby, you know what, I'm hearing this person, I'm seeing this person, I'm understanding this person, and I intentionally want to build a relationship with them. So this is what I want to give to them on the basis of what their need is, and vice versa. And then don't be afraid to walk away from friendships, networks, and connections that they just feel arid. And the reason they feel arid is because there isn't really an alignment. Now, the theme of the group might sound great, and you might be in the community with the group, but actually in the personal interactions with people, if you find that you're not really like-minded and you feel as if you're always pushing for a connection, relax, let go of that and be at ease. Actually, this may not be the environment you need to be in. One of the things that my parents breastfed me on as I was coming up as a child, and it's never left me, is take control of your own mind. And what they meant by that is know what it is that you like. Know what it is that you dislike, because the clearer that you are about what your likes are and what your dislikes are and who you are and how you can contribute to the world, it will make it easier as you're moving through your different seasons of friendship. And now that we are in our third act, our last season, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to cultivate this this sense of identity in the way that you own it honestly and authentically, and you can bring that into the world. And whoever is meant to resonate with you, they will resonate with you. And those who don't resonate with you don't have to resonate with you. So that's what I wanted to share with you. These ways of you thinking about the psychological reinvention. It's all about, your inner game, your inner world. Who do you need to become? I'd love to hear. Who do you need to become? Put your comments in the comment box below. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel, and share the ideas here with other baby boomers in your life, those treasured people in your life, be them your family, your friends, your colleagues, and other people in your network. Love to be in dialogue with you. Wishing you well as we move forward into this new week. And I will see you again next Sunday here at 3:30. Stay well, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.